Hey, it's John here at Primal Woods. Just wanted to give you a walk around of our recently completed chicken coop. The design was from building chicken coops for dummies. Fortunately, normally dummies don't write these books. This is the coop called the walk-in in this book. So it's basically 8 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet tall, plus a roof. Got for a foundation, it's basically 4 2-foot by 2-foot pavers that you can pick up at your big box store with a half block of concrete on top. I leveled those using a transit level. So 3 windows. This is the north side, and then this is the east side. Our prevailing winds are from the northwest. There's nothing, no openings on the west side of the building. And then there's one more window on the south side. This is the chicken door. So it's protected by a couple of latches. And then a hasp with a carabiner through it. All of that basically to keep raccoons out. And then this hook just engages the handle and keeps it open when we want to do that. The ramp is just a piece of cedar I found laying around, and these strips are from maple. Needed some sort of attachment here. For that, I used the lid off of a sap bucket actually. It just fits nicely in the gap between the door and the frame. And I thought it worked nicely in that case. Okay, personnel door, we'll come back to that in a minute. I've got a pile here of basically unused lumber that comes from about 3 different sources. One is the frame of the floor. I chose to use pressure treated lumber, so I bought that. It's exposed to the weather. I just didn't want to take any chances with the floor. So some of this, mostly the 2x4s were intended for the floor. 2 4x4 pressure treated boards are what are lying actually on the concrete blocks. So around here to the south side, so on this side we have the nest box door. Again, same thing, hasp with a carabiner to keep the raccoons from getting in. And then 2 chains so that when you open the door, you have a place to put your basket for the eggs. And then 5 nest boxes. So the design says this coop will accommodate 30. We don't plan on running 30 birds. We've got 13. I actually cut the size of the nest box in half. It had 10 bays, I made it 5. And then that's weather strip to keep the weather out. I've got a remaining piece of work to put a piece of flashing on the top piece of trim here. Okay, let's go inside. Oh, I guess I should mention that all the dimensional lumber, except for the floor joists, we milled from hard maples from our own property. So if you do that and you're going to use nails, you want to do it while the maple is green, because if you wait till it dries, you will not get a nail in it, and that's why they call it hard maple, I suppose. So I basically used mostly screws to put it together. A lot of 3-inch deck screws, at least 5 pounds of 3-inch deck screws, probably another 5 pounds of 1.5-inch deck screws. Really the reason was so that I could take it apart if I had to, because I'm new to this business and figured I'd make some mistakes. Got another carabiner on the personnel door. Per the design, all of the siding is T111. Some people refer to that as mushwood. I usually do. Hopefully it won't see the weather, so I'm hoping that holds up, but if it doesn't, the siding is not a huge job to replace it in 10 or 20 years if that needs to be done. So inside, again, we've got 3 windows. This is called an awning window. It can be mounted as I've got it mounted, opening at the bottom. You can have them open at the top, or you can have them open sideways. So they're pretty flexible in that regard. This is the roost. You want a foot of roost for each chicken. So this gives us about 16 feet of roost. So about 16 birds would feel relatively comfortable on this roost. Again, this is the north wall. The nest box is on the south wall. Since we'll be getting into that quite often, I didn't want Jerry or I to be on the windy side of the coop when we were doing that, so this opens to the south. That'll also make this a bit warmer because we'll get some solar exposure throughout the year on the south face of the coop. They've got another bit of a perch here in front, some boards here to keep eggs from falling out the front or the back. This was another place where I saved some lumber. Both the nest box and the roost were kind of standalone things that you then mounted to the wall. I chose to just build them off the wall. So that saved some of these structural 2x3s, 2x4s, etc. Mostly 2x3s for these two. So that's where I saved a bunch of lumber there. Did use some marine grade plywood for the nest boxes in particular. I just don't want any rot there. Hurricane straps holding the roof rafters down. They won't blow off. Again, all the framing lumber in here is hard maple. Basically the cheapest vinyl flooring I could get. I put that down, siliconed the edges of it, and then put, on the advice of my chief chicken counselor, I put another strip of wood down on top of it to keep the chickens from scratching at the edge of the flooring. So again, that's just like 4 screws that can come up if the flooring needs to be replaced at some point. These chains are for hanging the food and water. We'll see if that needs to be changed, but basically you can put it at any height. You want the food and the water to be at about shoulder height on the chickens, so as the chickens grow, we can lift up the food and water. If that proves to be problematic for some reason, I can mount them some other way, but that's the way we're starting out. So with that, we're done. It looks like, based on the weather, the chickens will be, this is Sunday, Easter Sunday, the chickens will be in here a week from yesterday, and then hopefully they'll be laying about 5 months from now, which would put us May, June, July, August, September. When they're 6 months old, we should be getting our first eggs. So if you got any questions, feel free to comment on this video, and I'll do what I can to answer your questions. Or if you have comments on how I can do better, I'd appreciate that too. Thanks for watching.